This is a short presentation on how to fabricate a V-notch or a birdmouth joint. This joint was used in an 18th century spicebox project to join horizontal and vertical drawer dividers that have a bull nose. A feature that drew particular interest in this project was the joint used on the bull nose drawer dividers. The joint is known as a box V-notch, or more commonly a birdmouth joint. This joint was necessary because the design of the drawer dividers called for a bullnose edge. The key feature of this joint is achieving perfect continuity. When working with a rounded or bullnosed edge, this joint ensures a seamless and visually continuous line where the horizontal and vertical components meet. To understand the approach used, we must first look at the internal structure of the drawer dividers as illustrated in the SketchUp model. The drawer dividers consist of two components, the secondary wood and the primary wood. The primary wood edge, which features the bull nose, is quite shallow, only about 3/4 of an inch. The secondary pieces are installed first, fitting into the stop dados in the main frame. The bullnose components are then glued onto the front, completing the internal structure. Creating the V-notch is a three-step process. First, we shape the rounded bullnose edge onto the primary material that will form the front of the drawer dividers. Next, we cut the female V-notch into the horizontal divider components. Finally, we cut the male V-notch edge for the vertical components. The process for the horizontal female V-notch is relatively straightforward, relying on controlled hand tool work. Begin by marking the outer limits of the V-joint using a sharp marking knife. You can see the knife lines in this photo. Following that, use the 45-degree guide block and a chisel by starting to remove the bulk of the material from the center. Finally, complete the joint by using the guide block to register the chisel, ensuring a clean, precise 45-degree slope. You then flip the guide block to the other side to finish the second slope on the V. The vertical components require a very snug fit between the horizontal dividers. To achieve this precision, we turn to the most precise tool in the workshop, the hand plane. We utilize a specialized setup, a shooting board known as a donkey shooting board, to form the male V-notch. This method allows for micro adjustments. The first step is to plane one side of the vertical piece's edge, then flip the primary material and plane the second side. By taking off as little as 1/1000th of an inch with each cut, we can easily creep up on a precise fit, ensuring a completed V-notch that is perfectly parallel and sized to match the female components. The design of the donkey shooting board offers a critical advantage, especially when working with an edge profile. It allows the plane to cut into the wood from the rounded edge profile, regardless of which side of the V is being cut. This is vital because if you were to plane from the opposite direction, the unsupported wood fibers at the bullnose edge would inevitably lead to a significant tear out or blowout. By approaching the cut from the bullnose end, we ensure a clean, sharp, and perfect edge every time. Here we see the male and female components joined. While the photo may show a slight space, a tight fit is achieved during final installation. The vertical component is essentially compressed between the upper and lower horizontal components, closing the joint tightly. In this next photo, the secondary wood components are permanently glued in place in the box frame. The primary wood divider fronts, with their prepared bullnose and V-notches, are now ready for installation. And finally, the finished result. With the primary wood fronts glued in place, note the seamless transition of the bullnose through the joint. You can also observe a hidden component, a false front that slides into the V-notches above the center drawer. This part is designed to be removable, but once the upper and lower V-notches are aligned, it becomes virtually impossible to detect, showing the deceptively simple elegance of this joint. Fabricating the bullnose edge is the first step in the process, but is described last here. The bullnose edge for the Spicebox drawer dividers was created using a scratch stock. The scratch stock approach was selected because it is easier and faster than using a router. It is a trivial matter to shape the bullnose scratch stock to whatever radius is desired. This allows the woodworker to accommodate various thicknesses for drawer dividers. The woodworker is not limited to the commercially available router bit sizes that can be purchased, used once, and never touched again. The following video extracted parts of an older video describing how to make cock beading for drawer edges. The parts that relate to the Spicebox were extracted and included here.
Making a scratch stock is pretty straightforward. You use a piece of steel, a 5/32 chainsaw file, and simply cut an arc. So you can buy these chainsaw files at Home Depot, Lowe's, Box Store, anywhere, Arbachon. You can get them in different diameters. This particular one is 5/32 of an inch because that's the size of the cock beading I make. This is a piece of steel from a big bandsaw, and this arc is simply this 5/32 file cut down there. Now both these sides have been polished, and you simply put the steel in there. Now, these edges don't do any cutting. The only thing that's going to be doing any cutting is this little arc here. So if you're worried about polishing edges, you only have to get this little section in here to be square and true and polished. So you just put the file in there, and you do it when you're first doing it. You do it down until you hit the radius. You don't want to go much past the radius. And if you need to tune this up a little bit, a couple of swipes with the chainsaw file will do that. When I fabricate these, I normally have the scratch stock first, and I take these down until this just fits over the edge of the scratch stock. You don't want this wider than the diameter of your scratch stock, because it'll leave a shoulder on here. And the furniture we're dealing with does not use a shoulder on the cock beading. One of the issues in using a simple piece of steel with no guides or edges or limiters on it is you need to know when you're finished. And you want this scratch stock to be consistent across the entire length of it, because you're going to be cutting this at points and cutting miters in them, and you want the height on both sides of those to be the same. So what I do is I take a soft pencil and I put a pencil mark down. You only need it on the center, but it's so narrow that it's pretty much it's easier just to mark the whole top. Now we're going to put this in a little holder and we're going to scratch it, and when the pencil marks disappear, stop scratching, because you've got an arc in it. You've hit the top and you don't want to go further. And you just put your scratch stock in there, crank it down, and then And now the pencil mark is pretty much gone here. And you just move down. Now, it's clearly cutting better in this direction. There's a little bit of a pencil mark there. That's gone. That's it. So if you had a piece that was 40 inches long, you just do that for 40 inches. It's best to do one continuous piece than it is to do a lot of short pieces.